Hi, I'm Chanel. The Infrastructure Minister gives me an update on what's been going on at Ronaldsway Airport. He also talks about a virtual stimulator that could help train people quicker.
I think last week was much better than the first week. As we've always said that airlines and the airport need to work together, and I think I got a bit misunderstood last week. We also need the public to understand a bit more about how the airlines and the airport work together. So let's just take today for an example. There's only one plane that was cancelled, and that was cancelled by EasyJet for special circumstances, whatever that means. But I can assure the public it's nothing to do with the airport. And on Friday, we had another couple of planes cancelled, and I think they were for technical reasons to do with the planes. And then in the evening, I understand there was a passenger incident that meant that the planes had to wait for a little while. So that's what I meant when I said last week that the public need to understand what's going on. You know, each time it's so frustrating for me and my family when planes go wrong, but we all need to understand that there's difficult times across the whole of Europe, indeed across the whole of the world. I couldn't help but notice today in quite a lot of the press that there was talk about a bad summer coming up for air travel in Europe, and indeed I saw one last week about the same in Australia, and I saw one about the same last week in America. In Europe, we've got the situation of the Ukraine war, and there were special military exercises. There's also strikes in parts of Europe in terms of air traffic control. And what does the war in Ukraine mean, for instance? Well, it means that planes fly further south in routes that they wouldn't normally be doing. What does it mean? It means that NATO's doing exercises which they'll be giving air traffic controllers notice about. So it's unfortunate, but this doesn't seem to be stacking up to be the most smoothest place, and that's what I wanted the public to hear. Isle of Man government is entirely dedicated, as is Isle of Man airport management, as is every person working at the airport, to get in the best possible airport. And we need to close at the moment. We might have some good news in a few weeks about how we've managed to make changes that will make things easier for everybody. But the people, everybody should hear basically that what we can change, we are changing for the good. And I'm sure you've got more detailed questions about that.
I do. So you mentioned last week, and I think it was in Keys, where you mentioned Coleman was going to push for people to be educated. And I think that's what sparked a lot of people on social media. A lot of people weren't too happy with that kind of comment. Would you like to explain exactly what you meant there, or do you? And second part to this question, do you regret saying that or saying it the way that you said it?
Well, I'm not sure I did even say it like that. But what I mean is when your plane is delayed and you're sitting in London City Airport and the Logan Air flight's not leaving for 4 hours, that can't be to do with Isle of Man Airport per se. There are rights you have, and there are expectations you can have of that airline in that situation, and it's for you to make alternative travel arrangements. Sadly, a few months ago there were lots of baggage caught up in Gatwick. Another time there was lots of baggage caught up in Manchester. We can't help you directly. That's between you and the airline's baggage agents in those places. So apologise if it was misunderstood, and I apologise if I spoke badly. But what we basically mean is when you're travelling, you're a passenger of an airline. Your bags are being handled by the airline's baggage agents, and unfortunately it's not perfect time for travelling throughout the European airspace at the moment. So apologies if I was misunderstood. What we can change at the airport is we can do everything we can to get us to the best possible position inside the air traffic control tower. So we're in a slightly better position than we were even a couple of weeks ago, and we're trying to train people as quickly as possible, to qualify people as quickly as possible, to work with people for all the other HR and regulatory reasons as quickly as possible, such that we have the best possible service and can begin to reduce those scheduled fatigue breaks. And we've also been working very, very closely with the airlines so that we have a better understanding about what we can do safely and what we can't do safely. Another thing that the public can hear is that we're now, we think, able to persuade Treasury and government, and we hope Tynwald, to allow us to put in place a simulator, because there's all sorts of constraints for for helping people qualify in a very difficult environment of air traffic control. And one of those is that you have to do on-the-job training. And one way that you can help people do on-the-job training is having a simulator, but the simulator has to be localised. I just need to bust some myths. It's not the situation that we can suddenly bring people in from some other airport and they can work in our air traffic control tower. That's not possible. It's not the case that we can suddenly do everything somewhere else. That's not possible, even if it was desirable. We're doing everything we can with the air traffic control tower. We've got other issues in the airport that we need to remediate, like security, like baggage handling, like catering, and I think we'll have some good news over the next 3 months in each of those areas as well, because we've been working on this for months, and the projects that we've put in place, given that we knew the challenge we faced, should be able to allow us to have good news to tell everybody as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like, so you mentioned, baggage holders and security and catering. It seems as though the department was able to foresee that, and that's why you're acting on it now. Why couldn't you foresee the air traffic controllers?
So we did foresee it. So we took in quite a few air traffic controllers before COVID, but for whatever reason, their qualification wasn't as quick as it perhaps could have been. So, for instance, simple things like getting off the island to go to the training courses wasn't possible during COVID, it definitely interrupted things. Another criticism has been about medical examination. Well, we do have a medical examiner coming into the airport in train, but again, that's a regulated profession with the CAA, and that process has been interrupted by COVID. During COVID, we were able to make arrangements with Guernsey using the air bridge to deal with that. So there's quite a lot of misunderstanding out there, and apologies to the Manx public for that. So essentially, we have a group of people, 14 people at the moment, who are all doing wonderful things for their airport. They're normal people. They have families and they have hobbies and they have integrity, and they also have personal worries, and it's not nice for them to be the target of any sort of anger. And we did take in lots of people just before COVID. We have taken in more people now, and day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, the situation will get better. And I'm so glad now that the public understands that we need substantial investment in people, systems, facilities at the airport.
Can I ask how many ATC officers have we trained up so far?
So we took in 3. David, Mr. Asher, I think it is, has put down a written question, so you'll have all the details for the last 10 years. But in 2019, I believe we took in 3. I believe the following year we took in 1. We took in. We've taken in more to start in September, because you've got to understand, I think people from the radio have been up into the tower, and essentially you just have a few desks. If somebody is training, it's live training. You need the right spaces for people to be trained. You need to take somebody off of doing a job to actually take part in the training of their successors. It's all very difficult. We are recruiting experienced people who should be quicker to train. As I say, we are trying to develop a local simulator, get the money to develop a local simulator to help with the training. So step by step, we are increasing the number, so more of our 14 are operational. And secondly, we're trying to increase our target numbers budget as long as the budget funds come, which I think they will do now.
How much would a simulator cost, or how long would it take before we see it?
Again, it is some time, because the simulator isn't just an off-the-shelf simulator. It's got to be localised for the airport. The reason why we can't just bring people from Heathrow or Gatwick is everything looks different when you're in the Isle of Man air traffic controller. We have gun ranges. We have links with training military aircraft from Ronalds, from RAF Valley and Anglesey. All sorts of differences. We have more ratings in our airport than larger airports do because of NATs and relationships that way. And I should say, I'm not an air traffic controller. I just spent quite a lot of time experiencing this and hearing about this. For instance, last Friday, I spent 3 or 4 hours actually inside the airport perimeter, getting to know some of the people better and talking through their challenges. Yeah, so months rather than days, but every week things I think are getting better, and we've got to continue at the airport to work with airlines, and that's what we're all trying to do.
I think my last question on this would be, and as you mentioned at the start, it's not just an issue here. There is a shortage of ATC officers all over. Is it all over the UK, all over the world?
All over the UK. So we can lose people to other British airports very quickly. It's harder to get them back here because of all the training involved. We can lose people to Europe, America, but I've seen articles saying that the same problems are there in America and Australia as well, and everywhere else. I think the Asian demand is huge as well.
Alrighty. Can I move on to parking? Parking comes into effect tomorrow at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to tell me about that?
So we had the notice published. Got a couple of handfuls of responses this time, so we've gone ahead with the second version of the draft order. For the last week or so, people will have seen green lines and red lines being put out in the car park. The white lines were already there, pretty much worn away already. We've got some very clear signs which refer to the actual regulations, and from tomorrow the parking will be at a higher rate, and there'll be this possibility for premium rates. Some things that people should hear from us if they haven't already seen it on the notices. The first one is this: if you've already paid, your previous rate applies until it expires. Second point is we've got special arrangements for disabled people, so they have an hour's free, whereas it's 30 minutes in the standard charge and 15 minutes in the premium for free. So I hope it works for people. Payment methods are the same as they have been for some time. We are looking to widen possibilities, but at this stage we've put up the prices basically by the 10% in line with other charges across government.
What about those who've seen the article and some of the comments that we've gotten is, you've got other issues at the airport. Why are you focusing on this and not prioritizing the other things? Things being,
There's no focusing. It's pretty easy to hire a contractor to put out the lines, to put the notice in the courier. We decided after the end of the 2 weeks after the consultation to do this, and we've just carried on and doing it. It's only by getting income into the airport that we're going to be able to meet our challenges, and we decided that along with things like encouraging new occupants of hangars, focusing on the buildings inside the terminal, trying to work with the private providers there to get them to make their own investment. It's only by doing all those things that we're actually going to make the books come closer to balancing at the airport, because, to be frank, the government's financial situation is fragile at the moment in that sense, and it's not as if we're going to have a huge injection of public funds. We've got to make sure that the travelling public gets the best possible airport, and we work out a way of financing that, because we've got tens of millions of investment that's needed at the airport still.
What happens if there's an instance where someone goes in, parks their car, pays their thing, or whatever it is, and they get the flight keeps getting delayed, and
they can renew it online. They can renew it inside the terminal. You can renew it over the telephone. So we have a parking fine. We have had experience of issuing parking fines. We've also it's basically an offence if you stay too long, but there's a lot of discretion there and lots of possibilities to increase fines. So you have to pay on arrival. That's why the 15 minutes is there, to enable you to pay. And we really, hope that people pay properly and they don't get fines. But if they do get fines, the normal processes will apply, and the fines will be taken by Treasury and inside the legal system.
Anything else you want to add or you want to say?
Well, just apologies to the travelling public. The situation and the circumstances for air travel are not are less than perfect, certainly at the moment, and we're doing everything we can as quickly as possible to bring them back to where they used to be.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.